If you are interested in learning the technique or want to conduct a program at your place, and for any inquiry related to it, please feel free to write to us at info@vihangamyog.org. That is info@vihangamyoga.org.
Jai Sudev, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Vihangam Yoga Global Online Satsang. For those of you joining us for the first time, a warm welcome to you. For those of you who've returned once more, thank you for your ongoing support. We're reaching the end of the year, and I hope everyone's looking forward to the holidays. It's that interesting point of the year where, we start to shift in perspective, shift in what we're thinking about, and I hope everyone's really looking forward to another bright year ahead. I myself am Abhinav, joining from Sydney, and I'm looking forward to taking you through another great week of riveting discussions and, reflections on very important topics which compose a spiritual lifestyle. In the last edition of the Vihangam Yoga Global Online Satsang, we discussed the depth and the many layers of sadhana, meditation. If you were unable to catch that session, please do check out our YouTube channel for a past recording. This week brings us to the next S in the 4S framework, which is our primary series at this point in time. This week, we're looking at Satsang, or in more literal terms, being in the company of the truth. As we go through life and assess the different aspects of it and the different aspects we are involved in, we start to reach a point where, the words of other people and the recollections of ourselves, they become sort of secondary. Instead, as we move forward, we start to pursue things such as the truth and experience in our personal lives. And with the limited time we have, we start to search for concrete ways in which we can arrive at principles, definitions, and personal frameworks by which we can live our lives. Satsang captures the essence of such a pursuit in some ways, but it's more than that. It is the pursuit of truth. It expands beyond personal frameworks and attempts to align us with indisputable, objective truths about the universe and beyond. And so we start to ask ourselves, what is satsang? What is the value of satsang? How can we perform satsang in our day-to-day lives? Is it a matter of sitting with people, or is it a matter of being with yourself? Well, today, equipped with our global panel, we'll be diving into this very topic and journey through the lens and medium of Vihangam Yoga and the Swarved, the distillation of experiences which Anand Sri Sadguru Sadafulji Maharaj had on his most unique and complete journey through the depths of spirituality and beyond. So I welcome you all once again to this week, Seekers from Swarved, realizing the genius within us using the 4S framework, the 3rd-S, Satsang. Before we begin our journey, we'll stop for the welcoming prayers, the Swagat Gan and Mangal Gan. Aligning with tradition, these are prayers offered in the feet of the Master of Vihangam Yoga. Let's invoke his blessings on this auspicious occasion and then proceed toward learning more about this wonderful topic.
आज स्वागत नित्य गुरुवर संत शुभागम आइए अध्यात्म विद्या दिव्य ज्योति सोमरस बरसाइए दोष दुर्गुण दूर करके शुद्ध हंस बनाइए भेद गम गति ज्ञान गर्जन शक्ति द्वार हटाइए खुले द्वारा शब्द सागर भक्त जन अनहवाइए जन सदा फल विश्व शिक्षक शान आन बचाइए शान आन बचाइए विश्व शांति नाम मंगल परम गुरु को ध्याइए वर्ग द्वंद्व शांति दूर कर भाव भेद मिटाइए सार्वभौम समष्टि सत्ता त्यात्मराज बनाइए, वेश भाषा भाव जगमय ज्ञान पर दर्शाइए। समृद्धि सुख शांति धरातल स्वर्ग भूमि बनाइए, विश्व शिक्षक जन सदा फल नीतीश्वर अपनाइए, नीतीश्वर अपनाइए।
Thank you for that beautiful composition. With the blessings of the Master, we're now equipped to dive further into the topic of the day, Secret and Swarved, realizing the genius within us using the 4S framework, the 3rd-S, Satsang, association with truth. As always, if you have any questions or thoughts to share, we have two avenues available to you. The Slido link that's on your screen just now, slido.com/VYGOS, as well as the WhatsApp number, which will just be on screen in a moment. So please do, leave any thoughts, concerns that you want to share with us throughout the session today. We're really excited to, get involved and have a discussion with you wonderful listeners. Now we move towards a bhajan, after which we'll be going to our Q&A session for the day. Today we have, once again, we're very lucky to have Chandan Ji joining us from Singapore. He'll be sharing a bhajan with us just like he did last week, and we're really looking forward to taking it in and really reflecting on it. So I'll hand over to you, Chandan Ji, after which we'll move toward our Q&A session for the day.
Jai Sadgurudev. Thank you, Avinav-ji. I am fortunate to have an opportunity to serve through VYOGS platform. I am going to sing a bhajan. This bhajan is in Hindi. For the sake of common understanding of everyone, I would like to summarize the meaning, the theme of the bhajan. This bhajan is a prayer to His Holiness Sadguru by his disciple. The disciple knows that he is full of impurities. It's his master only who is capable to purify him and liberate him from the ocean of material world. He is saying that he is completely involved in his daily life and he is unable to detach himself from the emotions of this material world. Hence, he is praying to Sadguru to be purified only by his grace and blessings. So, let's have the bhajan. मेरा अवगुण भरा रे शरीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे। मेरा अवगुण भरा रे शरीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे। हरि जी कैसे तारोगे, प्रभु जी कैसे तारोगे। मेरा अवगुण भरा रे शरीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे। ना मैं छील खिलाए छिलके, ना मैं फाड़े चीथड़ दिल के। ना मैं छील खिलाए छिलके, ना मैं फाड़े चीथड़ दिल के। मेरी उंगली पे बांधा नकील, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे। मेरा अवगुण भरा रे शरीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे। मेरे नाथ दीननाथ मेरे नाथ। भव सागर में कूद पड़ा हूँ, मोह माया में जकड़ा पड़ा हूँ। भव सागर में कूद पड़ा हूँ, मोह माया में जकड़ा पड़ा हूँ। मेरे पाँव पड़ी जंजीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे, मेरा अवगुण भरा रे शरीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे। बार बार आने जाने में, जन्मों के ताने बाने में, बार बार आने जाने में, जन्मों के ताने बाने में, मेरी उलझ गई तकदीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे, मेरा अवगुण भरा रे शरीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे। मेरे नाथ, मेरे नाथ, दीननाथ मेरे नाथ, नत्था सिंह खामोश रहूं मैं, कितना भी निर्दोष रहूं मैं, नत्था सिंह खामोश रहूं मैं, कितना भी निर्दोष रहूं मैं हूँ त्रुटियों की तस्वीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे, मेरा अवगुण भरा रे शरीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे, प्रभु जी कैसे तारोगे, मेरा अवगुण भरा रे शरीर, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे, हरि जी कैसे तारोगे। जय सद्गुरुदेव। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, Chandanji. That was such a wonderful bhajan. And as Chandanji mentioned, as we go through the spiritual discipline and the spiritual path, the disciple starts to slowly become self-aware. And the more we become self-aware, the more we realize how many impurities and how many difficulties we are facing within, moving toward the ultimate. And so this bhajan really captures that essence of, please, Master, guide me through these impurities and this difficulty. So thank you, Chandanji, once again. Very lucky to have you on this platform. With this energy and wave of energy, let's dive into our Q&A topic for the day. As we go through, a gentle reminder for all you wonderful listeners, we have 2 avenues available to you to ask any questions you have, slido.com/VIGOS, as well as a WhatsApp number, which will be on screen as we go through the session. So today we're really lucky to have 2 very esteemed speakers joining us. First, we have Subhash Chandraji from Singapore, who for the last 6 years has been based in Singapore and is a director and at a multinational company handling 8 Asia-Pacific countries. He's most, amazingly been, associated and a trainer at Vihangam York for 13 years and is doing a lot of awesome work over in Singapore. So if you're ever in Singapore and you really want to learn more about Vihangam York, definitely do reach out and we'll get you in touch with Subhashji. So I hope you can hear us, Subhashji.
Yes, Jai Sadgurudev Abhinavji, I'm here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. So we also have Swarved, who's another, amazing personality from Singapore. So I'd also, he's a financial services professional and he got initiated to Vihangam York in the mid-80s. So he's seen a lot of things in the process of spirituality. And if any of our listeners are in Singapore, I definitely recommend you both getting in touch with either of these fantastic individuals. So Swarved is balancing a few things today, so he'll be jumping in when he can. So let's dive into our topic for the day, which is Satsang, association with truth. So the first question I had, and I'll direct this to you, Subhashji, is, let's just really try to understand what is Satsang. There are so many translations of the word satsang. We have association with truth. We have in company of truth. What does that actually mean? Is it a spiritual state where you've let's say achieved the truth and you're in some kind of state of union? Like, what does it mean to be? What does satsang actually mean?
Yeah, Abhinavji, this topic itself, the word itself, satsang, is quite an amazing word, and definitely it is very important for every one of us to understand the meaning of this word. So satsang, it's made up of two words. It's a Sanskrit word, we can say, which is a combination of two words, sat and sang. As you rightly mentioned, that the association of truth, knowing the truth, is basically satsang. But the important point is, what is the meaning of truth? Which type of truth we are talking about here? Is it the lie and the truth we are talking about, or there is something else we are talking about here? So I would reference here Swarved. I mean, people can read out Swarved in detail, but Swarved has explained a lot of things about satsang, what exactly it is and why it is important. That is also important to know. And Swarved, referencing Swarved, is the best thing to understand what is satsang mean. So in Swarved, the fifth mandal and the fifth chapter of it has described satsang in a much more detailed way. I'm referencing that particular chapter right now to read out some of the couplets from that, just to start and begin the meaning of satsang. So Sadhguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj in Swarved, he has mentioned in fifth mandal, fifth chapter, at one place, that शिष्य गुरु सुख शांति से कर अध्यात्म विचार, निर्णय पूर्ण विवेक में दीन अधीन आधार, सदगुरु संतन पास में कुछ दिन कर सत्संग, तज असत्य सत्य ग्रहण में बोध प्रकाशित अंग. It simply says that satsang means the discussion between the master and the disciple. When a master is describing one fact or another to his disciple, whatever way or description comes, that basically comes as a satsang. The same Swarved has mentioned and described that who that master should be. What is the meaning of master also? It's not just that anyone just says something or describing something will be considered as satsang. Roughly not. There has to be something specific thing behind it. That master must be the Brahmanist master, means he should be connected to the Supreme. Any word which comes from that master is basically all those words, the frame of the words, the sentences, all those considered as the word of the satsang. Anything which the master describes for the knowledge to the disciple is considered as the satsang. So when we talk about satsang, means we are talking about the truth. As you mentioned at the beginning time, the truth about the universe, the truth about the life, the truth about everything which exists. What is the conscious entity? What is inert entity? Describing all these things basically considered as satsang. There are varieties of forms of satsang, because it may be possible that the master is not physically present at one place to describe things. And that's how the importance of Swarved also comes into the picture. Anything, if suppose any two people are discussing about the Supreme Being, about the knowledge of the Supreme Being, about the truth of existence of the entities, all these things being considered as the satsang. We'll discuss more about these things. In fact, I would like to um, bring our discussion towards one important thing. Swarved mentions that there are 4 different types of knowledges. The first basic knowledge is the connection between the soul, the conscious entity, and the nature. What is the knowledge of this connection? Second knowledge is the knowledge of the soul itself. And the third knowledge is the connection between the soul and the supreme. And the fourth knowledge is the knowledge, the complete knowledge of the supreme itself. So with these 4 basic knowledges, if you try to define satsang, then it simply means describing, knowing, understanding, and adapting the knowledge of these 4 entities, 4 connections, is basically satsang. Abhinavji.
Yeah, thank you, Subhashi. That was such an important way to, build the foundations for our conversation today. And I think one of the interesting points you raised there, you raised many, but one of the things which really resonates, I think, is, spirituality and satsang is not about subjective truths. It seems to be more about objective truths, things which are indisputable, things which can be experienced by anyone. And you've mentioned that, it's important that there's these 4 kinds of knowledge which we need to seek to understand. I guess one question which many of our listeners do have is, how can you, as a person who, let's say, doesn't have as much experience, how can you recognize when the knowledge which is being shared with you is in fact truthful in nature? So, obviously, as we go through life, we meet many different kinds of people with different kinds of worldviews and perspectives. How does a spiritual seeker, how does a person living a spiritual lifestyle, how do they distinguish between what is truthful and objectively true, or something which may be true to one person but not necessarily true to everyone?
Yeah, so this is actually a tricky thing. In our day-to-day life, as we grow up, we learn things from each and everyone around us, whoever is experienced. And if someone has some experience, that experience is the true experience for that person. It doesn't matter whether it is a good experience or bad experience. It is an experience. That's fine. And if and if that person is sharing his experience, whatever knowledge he has gained with someone else, of course, that is on the basis of what experience he has gained. But the point here we are talking about is satsang, the word itself, the truth. What is truth? What we are talking about? The truth means the first ultimate truth, which if anyone in our day-to-day life understand, is the truth is we exist. The life exists. Just saying this in word doesn't mean too much of thing. We have to realize it. We have to realize it from inside, not just by hearing it or just saying it, right? So experience, any kind of experience, is on the basis of the effort. And at the same time, if suppose there are many people, if I talk about myself, I'm speaking on this VYGOS platform related with Vihangam yoga and experiences. Whatever I'm saying, whatever I'm talking here is not just my complete experience, because I have not reached out to that particular level, but I'm referencing the Swarved. Swarved is written by someone who is the most experienced entity. I'm using this word, the most experienced entity in this world right now, who knows everything. And that is His Holiness Sadhguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj. He has said at many places in Swarved that I know the whole structure of this universe, not just this universe, but beyond this also, how everything exists, how everything is being created and who creates, how this whole functioning is happening. So we are right now referencing as Swarved. Whatever has been mentioned in Swarved, that's the ultimate truth. Anything, every word is the truth. When we talk about the discussion, of course, it depends on the experience from where we are gaining. Right now, even if I'm referencing Swarved, that is on the basis of my own understanding, maybe intellectual understanding or a little bit of experience. The complete understanding of the truth will come from the experience, self-experience, and the experience given by Sadhguru as well. So when we talk about in our day-to-day life, knowing, understanding the truth, I can say from my own experience that any one particular time, please don't consider that I know the complete truth. Saying is one thing, maybe theoretically it is fine, but unless and until we experienced it completely, that sentence cannot be the complete truth. Experiencing the truth means the ultimate objective of experiencing the truth is getting united with the Supreme. Once we have that union, then the whole truth will automatically come inside us. That's the fact. So unless we reach out to that level, anything and everything we are gaining is just different milestones which make us progress reaching the ultimate truth. Abhinav.
Yeah, thank you, Subhashi. And I think you're totally right there in that, each of us are trying in our own ways to move along the path of spirituality. And I think for many of the listeners who have this question, what I would also layer on top of Subhashi's personal experiences is that, you can use the Swarved as a point of reference. So at different points in your spiritual journey, you can check back on the Swarved and see if the path that you are experiencing is the same as what has been described. And to the extent of your experience, if those two things match up, as a disciple, as a seeker, it gives you a lot of trust, a lot of faith, and a very strong point of, this is the right way to go at this point in time for me. And I think Subhashi put it just perfectly that, until we've reached all those milestones, of course, we can't in complete confidence say that we have arrived at the truth, but we're on the way. And that in itself is a very big thing. And, the next question which really comes to mind is we're going through this process of satsang. We're going through this process of trying to understand the words of the master. So I'd love to understand from you, Subhashi, for the listeners out there who are starting to think about satsang and what it means, what are the benefits of performing satsang and how can we perform satsang in our day-to-day lives?
Yeah, this is very important to understand. I think anything and everything we do, it must have an objective. For a person whose objective is very much different, he probably may not give value to a satsang, right? So first, to understand the benefit of satsang, we must create the framework on which we are talking about. So when we talk about the knowledge, when we talk about the truth, the knowledge of the truth, and that's what we are saying the satsang is. On this framework, if I have to say something on what are the benefits of the satsang, then I would like to tell here one of the couplet from Swarved again, where Swamiji has mentioned, Sant न होते जगत में को जानत भगवान, कीट स्वान सम बीतता जीवन मनुज महान. Which means he's saying that if in this world saints would have not been there, who would have been able to know the Supreme Being? Without them, without the saints, our life would not have been complete meaning of its own life. It would have been something same as different insects and animals. So basically from this couplet, what Swamiji wants to mention is that our life, the meaning of our life is actually known only by the saints. They have earned these meanings. And unless and until they let us know their experience and all the knowledges what they have gained, we would probably not able to know and understand the complete truth about our life itself. So when we talk about the benefits, it's all linked with the spiritual benefit. I would try to bias myself towards that side. Of course, there are other benefits also, not just the spiritual benefit because of satsang. So if I talk about the spiritual benefit out of satsang, then the basic most important benefit is you get like-minded people around you who are having almost same objective, same aim in their life. And I would consider that as the one important one, to get united with the Supreme. When we talk about, there are many people in this world who are quite devoted towards God, towards the spirituality also, but most of them are doing things or thinking on their own, maybe hypothetically, or reading some books based on their own personal experiences, but they're doing most of the things alone, individually. Through satsang, what we get is similar type of people get associated at one place, and they discuss things among themselves also. So at the same place, at the same time, there are multiple people available of the same understanding, same thought process, and probably all of them are being guided by the master. Once all of them get together at one place, then there are lots of things which can be clarified among themselves. There are lots of things on the basis of which they can gain further knowledge. And if, of course, everyone is present under the guidance of master at that time point, the master itself gives lots of things at that time. I recall one thing when present Sadhguru, His Holiness Sri Swatantra Devji Maharaj mentioned in one of his Amritvani, he mentioned that Sadhguru gives or disseminates his power to his disciples in three ways. And one of the way is through his voice. So when we hear some voice from the master, when those voice goes inside through our ears, it goes to our heart, it impacts very differently. Those who are familiar with some of the congregations happen of Vihangam Yoga, recently we celebrated our 96th annual function, the anniversary of Vihangam Yoga. Vihangam Yoga was established in 1924, and on 1st and 2nd of December, we celebrated it at Swarved Mahamandir near Varanasi. When everyone is gathered at one place, when Sadhguru says something, when some words come from his mouth, and when it hits the disciple on his body through the ears, it impacts very differently. Those who have witnessed it, there are lots of people who have been experiencing very differently at that time point, at the time when Sadhguru is saying something. So that benefit you will not get, anyone will not get from anywhere else. And that's the importance, that's the satsang basically. That's the importance of the presence of the master at the time of the satsang. It may not be possible at every time to have Sadhguru in front of us during the satsang. We can do satsang among ourselves also. But the benefit, one of the most important benefit from satsang is it gives us the right path. It gives us the right direction to move on, especially on a spiritual world. If we have been deviated because of our daily life here and there, whatever, like right now Chandanji in his bhajan was mentioning that the disciple knows that there are lots of impurities involved in his day-to-day life, but he wants to purify himself, but he cannot. And the ultimate way is to have the blessings of the Sadguru, the master. So satsang basically gives lots of different types of flavors to purify ourselves also. It gives the right direction to move on. Vinodji.
Yeah, thank you, Palashi. That's such a important thing for us to all understand. And as you rightly mentioned, you know, everyone has a different experience with satsang. Everyone has their own limitations, and despite that, we're all trying our best. So that's the key thing there. And when we think about satsang, and if I reflect on it, in my personal life, the most transformative experiences I've had in my life are, as you mentioned, when I'm singing at satsang, I'm listening to someone speak about their experiences, speaking about the concept of spirituality, and it really hits you. You start to reflect, and it gives you insight into maybe the things you can do differently in your life. And so I'd love to understand from you, Subhashi, for our listeners, is it possible to do satsang all the time? So do you have to be surrounded by people, or can you perform satsang in your day-to-day life as well? Can you reflect on the things you're doing? Can you reflect on the way you're speaking to people, your actions? Is that satsang, or is that something different?
So, satsang is, if I say, it's actually a journey, inward journey. Uh, Something is happening when we are doing satsang in outside, and then the impact of all those happenings are on our inner world inside. And at the time when we are doing satsang, definitely most of the time we are grasping things, we are absorbing the knowledge, and sometimes we contribute as well in our discussion. But as far as in our daily life is concerned, other than when we are not doing satsang, definitely it, as I mentioned, it simply impacts our life. It simply impacts our the way we live. So it has been seen for many people, satsang has changed their life completely. There are many examples where people have different type of addictions, and their way of lifestyle was very different, and one way or another, because of one person or another, they get influenced and join satsang. Doesn't matter which kind of satsang it is, but they joined satsang, they started learning, listening things, and because of the environment at that place where the satsang is happening, it started changing their life. And it has been seen that very far, on a fast track, they left all of their addictions very fastly. And that's the impact of satsang. So here also, when we say VYGOS, full form is Vihangam Yoga Global Organization Online Satsang. Vihangam Yoga Global Online Satsang. We have given the name Satsang. And if you see here, we start our this VYGOS Satsang with Swagat Gan and Mangal Gan. The importance of that Swagat Gan and Mangal Gan is that we are praying to Sadguru. Please bless us, give us the power so that the satsang runs on the right way, in the right direction, so that everyone can be benefited out of it. Which means when we do, say, physical satsang in our day-to-day life, the importance is about the atoms and molecules, because of which everyone's life get impacted. It's not just the words. If the words are impacting us, that means it's linked with the atoms and molecules at that time point. And that's what I'm talking about, the environment. When we say om, if collectively 50 people are just producing a sound of om, the most vibrative sound, if one person produces that sound, it has a different impact. If 50 people together produces that sound, it all together give a very different kind of impact on each and every one present at that time. So the collective impact is always superior. So when we talk about in our day-to-day life, if a person has been joining satsang on a regular basis, he is listening, he is contributing to the satsang, then it has been seen that his daily life, his daily lifestyle also has been very much involving all those elements and thinking and thought process what he has learned or discussed during the satsang. So yes, it is very much true that if we are associated uh, in satsang, with the satsang, then it changes our day-to-day life on the basis of how we think, what we think, what is our next step, even in when we are working in office with our family members, with our friends, the thought process is very different at that time point, because the satsang which we have attended earlier has impacted us from within. Abhiraj.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's also, so important to think about, and I really want to dig into this a bit more, which you mentioned about what we do after a satsang. So, during a satsang, we're in a certain environment, we're surrounded by like-minded people, and in that environment, we can start to see certain things within ourselves. We start to, triage and navigate, what we want to keep, maybe what we don't want to keep. So, what should we as seekers do after a satsang? How do we sustain the impact of a satsang? How do we sustain the effect of those atoms and molecules in such a fast-paced world where you're in a satsang and then the next day you're in the middle of a city with thousands of people walking past you with their own energy profile, their own way of thinking? How do we sustain the impact of satsang in our lives?
Yes. So satsang, when we talk about, it's not just for one day or one time. It has to be on a continuous basis. Continuous basis doesn't mean that 3 times a day, but definitely every day probably is not possible. Also, maybe once in a week, if that is possible, probably one way or another, or not even that, then fortnightly or monthly. The more frequently it would be, the more impact it would have. So for if you're talking about different parts of the country, it may be possible that it is not possible for everyone to attend or join a satsang on a very regular basis. But of course, everyone can join VYGOS, where we are discussing all these things, which is happening every Sunday. But along with that, to sustain the impact of satsang, one has to be in continuous touch of the discussion. And the discussion can be with one person, can be through such thing like online satsang, or under the guidance of master directly. But even if all these things are not possible, um, reading, which we call swadhyay, right, which we have discussed in our previous VYGOS discussion, self learning is also one of the point which need to be performed. But along with satsang, satsang alone is not completely sustainable throughout the time. Along with that, anywhere, especially when we talk about Vihangam Yoga satsang, the emphasis goes on the sadhana, the meditation, as well as the seva, the service also, because these are another pillars to sustain ourselves for a longer time in any satsang, not online satsang, but any physical satsang. When we join, one of the part definitely is the meditation practice. So along with listening things in the satsang, discussing things in the satsang about the truth, about the existence of multiple entities, we do practice through meditation to control the mind also, because ultimately whatever we are doing in our day-to-day life, it is linked with our mind. And if mind is not in the right direction, it would deviate us from one place to another. And that's why the importance along with the satsang is also about the meditation practice and the service also, because service eliminates, or I'd say eradicate, the ego, which is the prime cause of anything bad, or anything bad in the sense bad in spiritual life is happening with us. So to sustain the impact of satsang for longer time, yes, the frequency of the satsang should be more and more. And second thing is that whatever we learn in during the satsang, definitely one of the learning which we do is the practice of meditation. We should include that practice on a daily basis, morning and evening, just 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, which helps us to control our mind from the outer world and the outer side, inside, and purifying it as well. And at the same time, we should read out what the master has written, because then we can involve ourselves for evolution. Because as and when we learn things, one by hearing, one by reading, one by experiencing, then only it will sustain more and more. Abhinavji.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great point you made there, and I think the next thing that really comes to mind for listeners is, like, we're in a satsang. We've talked about what we need to do after a satsang. We've talked about what the objective of satsang is. What should a person do during a satsang? Should they be, thinking about questions they have? Should they be reflecting on their life? Is there a certain thing which the master says we should try to do during a satsang to maximize its impact? What is the directive there?
So the ultimate objective of a satsang is to gain the knowledge and practice something, to experience things as well. So when I say practice something, means practice meditation. But when we talk about the process of satsang, there is, whichever way we do, the ultimate thing is includes prayer to the master and the supreme being, practicing meditation, and of course question and answer should happen, because the one of the objective for a satsang is, as I mentioned at the beginning also, the discussion between the master and the disciple. The discussion means what? Probably the disciple has asked one question and master is explaining it out, or even in reverse way, disciple has not asked but still the master is explaining some facts about the truth during that satsang. So definitely in each and every satsang some question and answer should happen, but I would like to make everyone cautious during question and answer. Whoever other than master, I think most of us are experiencing in our day-to-day life, to be very frank and truthful, we are experiencing, we have not reached out to the ultimate level, right? So definitely whichever discussion we do, whichever question and answering we would do, we must have a reference point, because for us, especially in Vihangam Yoga, if I talk about reference, there are certain references. One reference is Swarved, of course, which is the complete experience of Sadhguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj. Another reference can be Amritvani, which current Sadhguru, His Holiness Sadhguru Swatantra Devji Maharaj time to time speaks about, which somewhere we can find it out on YouTube or at other places also. Recorded versions are there, although it is in Hindi, but still many of us can understand that we should reference whatever has been mentioned in Amritvani. Similarly, there is a Divyavani, which Sant Pravarshe Vigyan Devji Maharaj speaks at different time places. Those things should be referenced whenever we do satsang among ourselves. So the process of satsang is we must discuss some facts about spirituality which should be helpful, which should be beneficial, which should be utilized in our day-to-day life, not just related with the spiritual things. As for example, if suppose I'm working in an office and there are lots of projects I'm working for, and at one particular time the situation become in such a way that I cannot handle everything alone at one point, what would be my point of action? Am I going to hide something from my bosses or the senior management people or the CEO, or I'm going to uh, pass it on to my some of the subordinates, or what would be my next course of action? So here I'm talking about the patience, here I'm talking about the time management, here I'm talking about the self management, here I'm talking about the stress management. All these things would be helpful to do when we actually get involved in satsang. So it's not just doing satsang at one place and at one time. We must learn how to utilize all those things in our day-to-day life as well. So when we talk about the process of satsang, it must be with prayer, it must be with meditation practice, and it must have Swarved, where you learn lots of things in terms of question and answer, as well as some discussion at that time point.
Yeah, and just to kind of bring it toward the end of our discussion, I think I've talked to many people over the last since I've been involved in in satsangs in Sydney, and many of them feel like maybe they should have come sooner to a satsang because it gave them interesting perspectives. Some of them maybe leave for a little bit because their lives get busy. I'd love to understand, based on what the Swarved has to say and what your experiences are, Subhashji, in this domain, who is ready for a satsang? Is there even a concept of readiness, or should it be as simple as I have a question, I want to go learn, I have something I want to achieve in my life, I want to go and understand how I can move toward it? Who should be going to a satsang? Is there a certain kind of person? Is there a certain point in life where we should start going to satsangs more? What is the thinking there?
So satsang is for everyone. Everyone means everyone. It is more important, in fact, it is more beneficial for those people who think satsang is not for me. I would say it that way. Because satsang, as I mentioned earlier, and everywhere, wherever we find it referenced, it changes our life in the right direction. Saying this doesn't mean that if someone is joining satsang, his previous life was not in right direction. No, it's not like that. The point here is whoever is wherever, at whatever point that person is, joining satsang will elevate his life in a very different way in or towards the real objective of the life. For different people, the objective can be different while the person is joining satsang. As for example, if there is a lady, I'm just picking up hypothetical example, if there is a lady whose husband is having lots of drinking, one example, okay, and whenever he comes at home he is completely out of his mind, and wife tries to make him understand, no, you should reduce it, control it, right? Then for that wife, it may be possible that she brings her husband to one of the satsang, right? And her objective at that time pointed, okay, his addiction should be reduced, he should be de-addicted from this, right? And it may be possible that once the husband is getting benefited of the satsang and he is completely de-addicted from that, maybe the wife's objective is completed and fulfilled, and it may be possible that thereafter her focus would reduce. I don't know, it depends. That's how, as you mentioned, sustainability is very important. So for different people, objective can be different, but ultimately when we talk about the truth of the life, it's same for everyone. So it doesn't matter who the person is, joining satsang is really very important for everyone. Many times we have seen there are many people who have joined satsang even if they don't understand a single word in that language. I have example. There is a person, I'm not going to quote the name, there is a person from Malaysia who once joined one of the congregation in India where Swamiji was speaking, and he doesn't understand Hindi at all, and Swamiji was speaking in Hindi. Later on, somebody asked him, you completely focused on what Swamiji said for more than 1.5 hours, and I know that you don't understand a single word of Hindi. How you were so attentive in that satsang during that Amritwani? And his surprise, to everyone's surprise, what he said is, I don't know what happened to me, but each and every sound, he was not saying the word, but each and every sound which I was hearing, it was so soothing. It was so peaceful to me that I could not deviate myself anywhere other than hearing that sound. That's the impact of satsang. Of course, we are talking about the words from Sadhgurudev, but I'm giving an example of the impact of the satsang. So it doesn't matter which language we are from, what is our lifestyle, what we do, how we do. If we need the peace, one of the quickest way to get it instantly is to join a satsang. And more we join it, the more and more peaceful life we would have. So ultimately, if I have to conclude, then to have a peaceful life, please join satsang. Avinaji.
Yeah, thank you so much, Subhash, for joining us this week. I think we're very lucky that we got to, have this discussion with you. And I really look forward to, hearing, understanding what our listeners have learnt from today, and also having more conversations with you in the near future. So thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you, Abhinavji.
So for this week, that brings us toward the end of our Q&A session. Let's move toward the Shanti part, after which let's do a quick reflection on the things we heard about today, the things we learnt, and then wrap up for the week.
विराग त्याग की शांति हो, उदासीनता शांति, सेवा जित शिष्य शांति हो, सत्य शांति हो शांति। हे प्रभु शांति स्वरूप हो, शांति शांतिमय शांति, शांति शांति जन शांति हो, पूर्ण शांतिमय शांति। हे प्रभु शांति प्रदान कर, दूर हो सर्व अशांति, देव सदा फल शांति में, शांति शांति सुख शांति। हे प्रभु शांति प्रदान कर, दूर हो सर्व अशांति, देव सदा फल शांति में, शांति शांति सुख शांति।
That brings us to the end of another week on the Vihangama Global Online Satsang. Before we wrap up for the week and we summarize, how we went and what we learnt, if you have any feedback which you'd like to share with us based on our sessions, there is a link on your screen just now, bit.do/VYGOS-survey1. We'd love to hear from you, listeners, in terms of what you're finding useful, what you're not finding useful. Ultimately, this platform is for you folks to really get engaged, get involved, and hopefully take something away into your lives. This week we looked at the Satsang, the 3rd-S, association with truth. And as we discussed with Subhashi, Satsang is one of those things which we all need in our lives in a certain way. I've met so many people, and, in my own experience, I've so many times felt like, okay, maybe not right now, maybe later, maybe once I've got myself together a bit more, I can go and sit in one of these sessions with all these awesome people and feel more like I belong there. But to be completely honest, I've never really felt like I belong there because there's always something to do. There's always something to work on. And the best part is you get there and you realize everyone's like that. Everyone feels the same way. And when you start to exchange these experiences, you start to learn about the truth and the references which Subhashi mentioned. You start to become a little easier on yourself. You start to realize there's other people, going through the same journey in life, trying to imbibe the same principles in life. And together you start to move toward a higher goal and a higher dimension of life. So satsang is, a critical pillar of the spiritual lifestyle, and one which should not be missed. If you are seeking a way forward on the spiritual path and discipline. So thank you everyone for joining us this week. I hope you have something to take away from this session. And I look forward to bringing another session to you in the coming week at this same time on Sunday. So thank you everyone. Jai Sudev, and have a great week ahead.